little gay people in my phone, and welcome back to the Glass Closet. Once again, this is a gay podcast where we talk about gay stuff that happens online and offline and everything in between. And once again, every single week, another fantastic guest, another person I'm so deeply excited to sit down and pick the brain of. This is Roselle.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
I'm really excited to be here.
So I always start by giving the spiel on how I know you and what your bio is, right? Yeah. I feel like for you, you're, I say this, but you are the multi-hyphenate. Like,
you think so?
Absolutely.
Okay,
it's like influencer, advocate, like community leader. Like it's really like you do so much in so many different facets. Like how would you define what you do?
I mean, I think I would define myself as a multi-hyphenate creative. I think that I'm a writer, I'm an advocate, I am a musician, a DJ. So yeah, I think just like multi-hyphenate creator feels.
It's all in you.
Right, yeah.
Yes. We did the deep dives, and you have all these articles written about you, right? Essence and like all these different profiles. Yes. And I was wondering, like, some of them are about like your advocacy work, or like obviously you were at the People's Choice Awards with Lizzo. Like, what's it like being like when you look at your Rolodex of accomplishments, of achievements, of work that you've put out, like existing in all these different lanes simultaneously?
I think now it feels really fulfilling, and I feel proud of showing up and taking up space with everything that I'm interested in. I was just saying how I think when I was younger I felt a little bit insecure about it because I would always think of that phrase, which is jack of all trades, but like the full phrase is jack of all trades but master of none. And I very much felt like that when I was younger, and I was kind of like, oh, I have all these interests and hobbies and I'm like dipping my toe in this and trying that, but I wasn't like, there wasn't one that I was just going really hard into, but I just had so much interest in multiple things. And yeah, I think that when I was younger, I was pretty insecure about it. But now I see it as such a strength to be able to like exist in so many spaces and to, kind of just like foster that curiosity. And I look back on that and I feel proud. So thank you for saying that.
No, absolutely. And doing it, like, make it look effortless. It seems like your life must be a movie.
Thanks. Sometimes it's not. But sometimes it is. I'm very privileged. So,
Okay, real. Do you feel like, so you're also a content creator?
Yeah.
Right. What was that journey like?
Yes. So, for me, content creation, I was always kind of on social media. I feel like before like the Instagram, TikTok of it all, I was on Tumblr. I think a lot of people were on Tumblr. Were
Pioneer.
you ever on Tumblr?
I wasn't. I was an ally. I was on Sims Amino doing whatever. I was like, it's like lamer than Tumblr. It was like an app called Amino where the kids that weren't cool enough to be on Tumblr were on.
Got it. I thought you said Sims Amino.
It was Sims Amino. I was on the specifically,
Is that like Sims? Like
it was Sims Face. I was making.
Obsessed with Sims when I was younger.
Look at us.
Me and my mom played it. We would play it until like the computer crashed.
No,
and then like, it would crash at night and we'd be like crying and my dad's like, what's wrong? And we're like, oh my God, like we just like had this situation with the family. We lost everything. So Tumblr, I was on there, and for a long time it was like it was like college. I had this like style blog that kind of like amassed a following.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and it was like, honestly, like I monetized that. Like I was doing affiliate links.
Hell yeah.
My mom was like super supportive, and my dad too. Like I made it into an LLC. It was a whole thing. But anyway, so like started content creation there, and then was just, like on Instagram kind of just as myself. And I think it really started to become something larger when there were the protests about George Floyd and for Black lives and in support of Black lives. And when that was all kind of growing, I realized like in the first like 1 or 2 days, like something I wasn't seeing online was talk about qualified immunity, which was this, I believe it's like an actual law that was protecting like police officers in these cases, like when they killed Black people.
Right.
And so I kind of just like read about it and digested that information and tried to put it in something just like in a carousel, so people could like.
It's accessible.
Yeah, it was accessible and they were able to understand it. And so I put that out there and I feel like that saw virality. And then from there I kind of just kept making things that were digestible from what I had like consumed or read to try to share with other people, and I feel like it just kept going from there.
I feel so paralleled.
Yeah.
I feel like that's very similar to my story.
Yeah.
Like,
tell me your story, your full story.
I came up from 2020, it was really like COVID, obviously. And obviously, I think there's so much to be said about why TikTok blew up, and that obviously the intersection of like global pandemic and also like these protests and like a real cultural reckoning around blackness in America.
For sure.
And my like big video was me rapping. It was a rap video about TikTok boys.
Oh my gosh, the way I've seen so many of your videos and I haven't seen that one. I'm so so in the dark.
I really kept it on the low. I feel like people don't know anymore.
Is it like deep down there still?
This was like 5 years ago, you know what I mean?
Try to scroll.
You'll find it. Like I made a couple, but the first one was like about talking about misogyny and how like this is Lil Huddy era, so we're like talking about these guys that are blowing up and being like dumb.
1 2 3 4 3 4 5 TikTok guys know you're on top because the bedroom mice and the Colgate mice. You can say what you want and your views still rise.
I think the big thing that had just happened was Lil Huddy cheated on Charli D'Amelio, and everyone was like, "Oh my god!" So I like shade him, whatever. And then I started making.
It's 2020.
I'm in the,
Right.
And I made one about wallets, which was like a term that was popular at the time, where like.
What is wallets? This feels like we have a mutual friend, Anu, and shout out Anu, love you.
Shout out Anu.
And this feels like talking with Anu because I feel like they educate me so much. And there are just so many new terms and I just can't keep up. So what is...
Well, it's not even a new term. It was such a relic of its time. I feel like nobody knows what it is anymore. Yeah. But it was a response to like men were calling women fridges or like irons or whatever, like inanimate objects, and be like, you're just used for this. So women in response started calling men wallets.
All men are kings, but if he breeds, he's a wallet.
And I like reclaimed that and made a rap. And then I was talking, so basically my point is that like I was making digestible rap videos about like social justice to help, proceed discourse and like really make a cultural commentary about what's going on. So I think that's really cool. It was fresh.
That's really cool.
Oh, thank you.
That's really cool.
How do you feel like coming off something like that? Because I know what it's like to be like, okay, I have this platform, I was talking about this, seeing the, oh gosh, it's been so long since 2020, like seeing the culture change, seeing platforms change. I feel like it's an interesting time to ask this question, considering social media has been co-opted so far by billionaires in the right. How do you feel like your content sits at that intersection?
Yeah, I feel like I feel very grateful for my platform still. I think it is difficult, and like I struggle with being online knowing that it's co-opted by billionaires and that we're supporting them by being on this app. But it's like the place where, we have grown a platform and we can reach and like spread information, right? So yeah, I feel grateful, but it also is, it's like a little bit difficult.
Definitely.
And I think that there was, like around 2020, I don't know how much you like also worked because of your platform, but I think that it was kind of trendy to hire Black folks and people of color. And while I am sustaining myself, it definitely has died down.
Definitely.
And that's noticeable. We know.
We know. Yeah. My friend Veronica, who's also on the pod, always said like it used to, like, I miss when being Black was in. And she was talking about Tinder. She doesn't even make content. Like it's just like she remembers like in 2020 I was getting all these likes, and it's like I guess we fell off.
Have you been on Tinder?
Recently?
Just in general.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I'm like flipping it. I'm like
in general, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you think? Hot takes on Tinder?
I mean, I think it's not for me, but if that makes you like happy, you feel like you can meet people, that's a vibe. Honestly, one of my best friends met her partner on Tinder, and they've been together for over 5 years.
Wow.
And actually I know another couple that actually is married, and they met on Tinder.
On Tinder?
Yeah.
Oh,
and they're
gosh.
like really solid like relationships.
Oh, God. I just feel like I'm the type of person where like I just need to catch that media vibe.
Yeah, I understand. I really love. A friend was telling me the other day too, like about needing the meet cute. And I really do love meeting people in person. And I personally, like all of the people I've dated, I've met in person. I've met one person on an app, and like we dated for a couple weeks, and that's it. But yeah. I don't love dating apps because I also feel like my best self isn't represented through like texting. Like I send voice memos a lot for that reason, I think, but and I know you can do that on there now, but I don't want to.
No, I really get that. I just feel like
Yeah.
I was raised on like Shonda Rhimes,
Yes.
you know, like a
Yes.
little Kerry Washington, like a
Yes,
little.
I love Scandal.
Scandal.
Like, I watched that twice. I
Like
think, too.
it skewed my brain chemistry,
Yeah.
and like now I have this thing where I'm like, if it has to feel like will they won't they, it has to feel like a little like, oh, I don't even know, I have to be delusional, like she doesn't want me,
It's
oh,
like
she's
a fight.
back.
It's awful. Yeah.
I need plot, and so when
Yeah.
I go on a Tinder date, I'm like, okay, so we both like each other,
Right, this is too easy.
Yeah.
Like, what is
Where's the
this?
chase?
And I also know, I feel like I'm just such a, I'm so, like, so badly my friends want me to be, like, out there dating, like, in a phase. And I'm just such, like, a monogamous, just, like, I want to find my, like, life partner girl. But not in a weird, like, I just.
No, I feel that.
I just don't love, like, dating like that.
No.
And I feel like being or meeting people on dating apps, I'm just like, I also know you're just like swiping on other people, and I just actually can't mentally.
Right.
I can't sit with it. So I
Like
don't
I'm not
wanna do that.
special, like
Yeah.
and neither are
Exactly.
you, but like it's like we're just doing this little dance.
Exactly,
And like
exactly.
sometimes you need it. I feel like I've had
Yeah.
like maybe when I was like 20, when I was like 19, 21, but
Yeah.
like something in there. That's when I was like, I'm gonna, the culturally understood hoe era, I'm gonna dance around and do my little
Yes.
shimmy, but I'm such a monogamist. Like
Are
I
you?
really
That's so good to know.
I love
because
those.
I'm the same way.
Yeah,
I
like
feel like we're a dying breed.
no, yeah, they hate us. Like
Okay, I'm gonna be that queer person then. What is your Venus sign? Do you know it?
Of course.
Okay.
I'm also that queer person.
Okay,
It's the first thing
amazing.
I ask.
Amazing.
I'm a Virgo Venus.
Oh, okay. I think I maybe asked
Oh,
you
because
this before.
Anu's also Virgo Venus.
Anu's
yeah.
a Virgo Venus,
Yeah.
which makes sense. And I'm Taurus. So like I think it's the Earth,
Yeah, but you have the perfect one.
I do.
Because Taurus
And
is at
so
home.
for so long, I was so mad having that placement. It felt so boring. I thought it was because people would be like, I have a Sagittarius Venus or a
Oh.
Scorpio Venus, and I was
No.
like, yeah, you like to have
crazy.
fun and date and
No,
flirt.
they're crazy. Sorry.
No, it's actually. And so I actually have come to really love, just like being like multifaceted. I've come to really love my Taurus Venus. I know it's like.
It's the best
It's
one.
in its home.
It's Taurus and Libra Venus are, so the people who don't know.
Yeah.
You guys are perfect. You're angels. You love correctly. Virgo Venus is the opposite. Unfortunately, we are very not at home in Venus, which just means some people thinks that means we're evil.
Yeah. Well, nothing is good or bad
Right,
like in astrology.
It's perspective.
It just is, yeah.
And
But
compatibility.
I think, isn't Aries Venus the one that's the most difficult?
I would
Or
say
is
from
Virgo
experience, but like I would say Virgo Venus
Yeah.
is like difficult. We just like we're very acts of service oriented. Like we will remember your birthday, your
That's
cousin's
so
birthday,
true.
your first pet's name, but like we don't always feel like
You
I
get
love
that
you.
you receive that? Oh,
Oh,
you
like-
don't feel like you love what
like we're not very like emotional. We're not very like
I see.
like my ex was a Leo Venus
Yeah.
and like I was so excited because like this is a good example. Like I got her like some commemorative things that were very indicative of like little details she told me or her favorite drink I got it as a mug like her favorite
That's
alcohol,
so
you know what I'm saying, like
sweet.
little
Yeah.
detailed things that were like
Yeah.
small but like
It's also
showed
very
the
Virgo.
right
That
like
makes sense.
just picking up on little things and
Yeah.
she as a Leo Venus printed like photos of us, hung them from the ceiling, hand dipped chocolate covered strawberries. I was like you know what I'm saying? It's just different ways of showing love.
Right.
And sometimes people think Virgo Venuses can be a little withholding, but really we're just like cautious and paying attention
That's
quietly.
real.
Yeah,
that's valid.
so
That's so valid. I don't think that's a horrible placement, but like you've experienced it and that's your truth.
you're someone I admire so much, who I've met at such an interesting point in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we mentioned Anu, who
Yes.
I'm just gonna link them below just because I love them.
Yeah,
And everyone
we
should follow
should.
them. They're lovely.
Yeah.
And I was going through a breakup. I feel like that's what I titled this. So thanks for coming. If the clickbait got you.
Right.
I was going through a breakup, and I was distraught. It had been very recent. It had been very tumultuous, and like we were at famously Italy. This was the inside joke, like going no contact in the Italy. Like, and I
that
felt
was
like,
happening. Yes.
yeah, like it was a reflective time, and we'd only known each other for probably like 2 weeks at that point.
Yeah.
But I just felt like it was really nice, especially because no shade. I feel like you're like, I see you as a queer elder. Like I see.
That's not shade.
No, right? Like I feel like you have some life experience. I
Yeah.
really appreciate and feel like was very helpful for me in that time.
Oh, good.
To,
I'm so glad.
like see another, Black queer person be like, you know what? Sometimes it's kind of horrible. But then you stand up.
Yeah, but you got it.
Yeah.
But it's okay for it to feel horrible.
I did.
You know.
But like, look at me now. It's been like
Yeah.
a couple of months.
You're eating.
I started a podcast.
Right.
It's crazy.
Exactly. I started DJing. Like, we're doing, like,
yeah.
Yes.
Like, how do you feel like since that time, like, your reflections or anything?
Yeah. I mean, similarly to you, like, I feel like I'm in such a better place now. And it was, painful, but, like, sometimes you, like, gotta go through that moment of hardship to get to the other side. And I think sometimes that's what we avoid, even though we know it might not be the right situation. We don't want to be in pain. Like, as a human, you don't want to be uncomfortable, which is valid. But a lot of people end up staying in situations that are either not right or unsafe because you don't want to go through, like, that pocket of time. But I tried to, I feel like reflecting on that time, I think a big thing that I was going through last year was outgrowing the need to be chosen.
Speak on it.
Yeah, and I think I had thought that I was like, check, like, mastered that, like, in relationships past or situations past, but I really hadn't. And I was just finding myself really wanting someone to see me and to choose me and to, like, hear me and understand me, and that I was chasing that. It wasn't happening. And really I needed to choose myself. And I had to choose myself. And it was really, really hard. Because something actually, as I was choosing myself and, like, scrolling on TikTok and trying to learn a little something, fill the space, there's this, I think she's a doctor of psychology, and her name is Dr. Ramani. And she was talking about how when we're children, and if we have a parent or parents that are not able to fulfill our emotional needs, we, as children, cannot look at our parent and say, oh, like, something's wrong with them or what's going on there, and, like, pointing the finger at them, but we turn to ourselves and we say, what's wrong with me? And what she said, which was, like, funny, she was like, we can't, like, go on Parent Hinge or, like, Parent
Hinge.
I almost said Parent TikTok. Parent Tinder, Parent, and, like, find a new parent.
For sure.
And so we look at ourselves, and, like, that is a question and pattern that sticks with us. And comes out in relationships, especially in adulthood. And I realized that's what I was doing. I was in these situations where it just was not the right dynamic, and these people, like, were not really caring for or seeing me, and I was just like, what's wrong with me? And trying to chase it. And so really understanding where that came from helped me to, like, break that, I think. And I mean, I haven't, like, been on crazy, like, in relationships, like, since then, but I can feel, like, I was talking to my cousin, and she was like, sometimes you are in situations where you're like, I actually can never feel like that again. And I feel like that made me be like, I can actually never let myself feel like that again. So what are we going to do from here on out?
I resonate with that deeply. I feel like, if anything, I feel like almost the inverse, where I feel like, well, one, I wanted to say, like, we were talking about this earlier, where you're talking about how grief is such a good teacher, and I thought that was, like, an excellent quote, just because I feel like through the loss of someone, like, I loved so much and was so close to, I feel like I learned, and it's a choice to choose to learn from loss.
For sure.
And what I learned is kind of like, even when you're talking about with the relationship with your parents, and, like, I started really sitting with myself and, like, digging through why I acted the way I did, why I, like, made choices I made, and, like, who I am, who I want to be tomorrow. Like, that's something I kept saying, like, I just want to be better than I was yesterday. And I think, like, in that relationship, like on me, like, I just stopped trying to, like, look at myself, That's real. Like, I was just like, tell me who I am, like, please just love me, like, because it was like, I was clearly, I think it comes from that same place of, like, like, I think something's wrong with me, but I'm the type of person where I'm like, come fix it, like, come tell me you love me, like, please, please, please. I'm like, that don't work.
No, it doesn't.
It does not work.
It really doesn't.
Fun factual.
Just so you know.
Just so you know, don't do that. But it's crazy now, because as much as, like, like, as much as, like, I'm still processing and growing and learning, I feel physically different. Like, as this new version of myself that's like very much like aware of why I do the things I do, where my urges lie, what I'm capable of, I also think is something hard to reckon with, like, as a young person, in a lot of contexts, just, like, knowing, like, you can think you'd never do something, and then, like, no shade, but, like, sometimes you do. I think, you know what, one segue I'll use is that I think it's really normalized and natural to look at your ex, anyone's ex, and be like, and you know what, fuck you. Like, you know what, this is all the stuff you did wrong. And I feel like I was there for a while, and it took me a minute to be like, actually, like, they're not here anymore. Like, it's me I have to live with. It's me I have to wake up with every day. Let's point the finger. And I feel really so much better for it. Like, how do you feel?
Yeah, no, I feel so much better. And I also feel like, I think a really good indicator of where you're at in, like, the healing or grieving process is whether or not you're grateful for the experience.
True.
Not to be like, it feels like sounds like toxic, positive. Like,
no, I feel that way though.
Yeah,
genuinely.
I think being able to find the gratitude in the situation is so important, and it's okay if it takes time because healing takes time. And something about me, I think that I can be so sensitive and also just not have grace for myself, which just makes things difficult. And I'd be like, why am I not over this? Or why am I still thinking about this part? Or why am I, just like being hard on myself. And I'm like, actually, it's okay to be stuck on this. Like, this was a large part of your life. This was an important relationship. Like, all of that's okay. But I think that getting to the place where you're like, or I'm now like, I'm so grateful for everything that I learned about myself, about others, about relationships because of that situation, is that I know I'm, like, moving forward. You could not pay me any amount of money to relive it at all. Like, 2024, like, can't look at it.
I wasn't even there.
I can, like, to learn. But, like, I don't ever want to, like, be back in there physically. But I'm so, so grateful for the lessons and for where it brought me today, because I wouldn't have pivoted if I wasn't met with such pain. And I think that, I'm so grateful for that. And I feel like my parents all the time when I was younger used to just call me hard-headed. And I just thought that's something parents call their kids. And maybe it is, but, like, I, like, realized as I've grown up, like, I'm hard-headed. And I was like, oh yeah, this was a lesson I, like, still didn't learn. And I was sitting, like, with myself and just realized that I had to figure this out. And I, like, sometimes I think, some of us need to be put in painful situations to learn and grow. And unfortunately,
I mean, that's something I really believe. That, like, you will keep being taught the same lesson until you choose to learn it.
And it was feeling very familiar. I was like, there were things that were, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, have you seen, there's this meme, did you see Nosferatu?
I haven't, but I know.
Yeah, you know that, okay, so that's, it was like, girls when they see it coming.
No!
And I was like,
oh my god!
I was like, yeah.
Girls when it was, like, prophetic.
Yeah, I was like, when I fully knew.
Oh my god. Yeah, actually, though. And I feel like in that way, it's very easy and also very legal to be resentful, to be bitter, to be, like, at least at some point, but it's just like living there, like moving in there, building a house there. On what foundation? The house gonna fall.
You want to get out of there.
You gotta go.
You gotta go.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard because I'm thinking about how this could be used as, like, advice when I'm, like, really not even trying to give it. I'm like, this is just my thing, and I'm in a better place with it, so I don't want everyone to be like, well, fuck you, you don't know what she did to me. I'm like, I don't. But I do think it's, like, we see so much, I think, around either queer relationships being, like, romantic and beautiful and better than men and la 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 and romanticized, or it's like, all Mass do is lie and cheat and steal and fuck femmes. You know what I'm saying? Like, that divisive, when it comes to, like, lesbian relationships, long term. Like, how do you feel like the reality is outside of how do you feel about the social media narratives? And then, like, how do you feel about the lived reality as a reflection? I don't know.
I feel like that's a big question. I mean, I think you were kind of spot on when you talked about the narratives online being, like, or just in media or whatever we're consuming, like, it's either like, this is like, queer love is the best thing ever, and it's unproblematic and just like it's
infantilized, yeah.
Or, you know, it's like toxic and it's just being horrible towards different people in the queer community, like mask people. And I think it really, like, queer people are human. And I think that sometimes because queer people are marginalized people, even queer people don't like to talk about queer people being human or having like bad traits or being problematic, or like, you know what I mean? And so I think that it's like, that's the reality. To me.
That like there's these disruptions that we're afraid to confront as a community for fear of like being real. Or I mean, what do you think the fear is of confronting it?
People in community are already so marginalized, and that folks don't want to
it's kind of respectability politics a little bit.
It's respectability politics, and they don't want to like disrupt the flow and
disrupt the flow.
Yeah.
I think that's so real, and I honestly feel like that shows up so much in like real life. Like I feel like there's a lot of spaces, queer spaces in New York, in intimate spaces where I've seen, you know, violence or you know, just a lot of real life, some tangible real life shit, like discourse that we kind of are afraid to talk about, or it's either that, this is such a dichotomy, but like that, or it's like, you know, the Instagram story expose, and then you don't. I don't really have hot takes on that, because that's like it depends on the situation. But it's either like we're gonna like expose, and like it's in the vein always of community safety, but then there's also this like kind of fear of like confronting like other things, you know what I'm saying? Or I mean, I think honestly this sounds a little bit racialized now that I'm thinking about it. I think that like
I'm sure that's present.
I feel like, you know, the queer community, there's a lot of white people down here in Brooklyn, you know what I'm saying? And I think there's some protective tendencies that probably speak to why some things are quiet and some things are louder, depending on who's
I think that there can be double standards for sure. And I think that, when it comes to holding folks accountable, a lot of times I have witnessed behavior that feels enabling, especially towards folks who, you know, are white or like white presenting. Yes, definitely. Definitely. Race is always
there.
It's always there.
How did that intersect with you, like, being queer, or did it have an effect?
I think it probably had an effect on suppressing my queerness, because while I feel like, especially when I was younger, like, there weren't a crowd of like queer folks or like queer kids, but there were signs, because my first kiss was with a girl. When I was
famously
like at a sleepover. But I think like it was so heteronormative that I didn't even know I was assimilating into it. I was just kind of like, well, this is what it is. Even though I have, you know, I knew as children, like folks that were gay or queer, I think just overwhelmingly around me was heterosexuality. And so I just subscribed to that for a really long time. And it's interesting because, like you were saying, like, I see you as like a queer elder, which I appreciate, and I think, like, yes. But I also feel like my journey, like, I was more of a late bloomer. And even though I had like that situation at the sleepover, I feel like I didn't have a relationship that was queer until a couple years ago. And so that was like me really coming like fully into my queerness, and like for a while and throughout my 20s really feeling like I was like pansexual, feeling like I was maybe bisexual, but hadn't like really had like that experience to speak on, which is a whole thing also like in the queer community. So
I mean, what was that like when you got to that point? Was it scary?
I actually wasn't scared at all. I like it was so, I was talking with a friend about this, and they reminded me how beautiful of an experience that is, because I know it can be really difficult. But I just, it felt like I just always knew that I loved and could love anybody, and it just like affirmed that. And I was just like, okay, so like we doing this?
I guess like it's gay now.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gay, like, you know.
Oh.
So no, it was a good. That was a good experience.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I was the type where I found out what lesbians were after gym class in 7th grade.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is that? And they were like, it's like when girls like each other. And I went, oh my God. You know what?
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be into that.
No, and you know what? Actually, there was another sign too. And like around that time, 7th grade. I'm so sorry for like any family watches this, but like I used to, it's not even that bad, but like I would go on like the Macy's website or whatever, and I would just look at the bra section.
Oh my God, no, me with the mannequins.
Would you?
There's some like crazy photos of 8-year-old me with like mannequins at Victoria's Secret.
Oh my gosh. Oh, the Victoria's Secret ones. I remember they like had a nipple bra at one point, and I was like,
oh my God. I was like, wait, you guys, we have to leave. I was actually like, can we stay? I love it here. I love it here. Wait, how are you feeling in your last era of 30, your last window?
I feel good. I didn't like this year. So like, I'm ready. While I remain present, I'm ready to see what 31 has to offer. I feel like that feels like a really good, it feels promising. But yeah, I feel like I've never been one to like freak out about shifting ages, but though the one I did kind of have a moment about was 19 to 20.
That was a big one.
I remember I was like, oh, like I remember sitting in my dorm at the University of Hartford in Connecticut, and I was just like, it was like spring, not quite warm enough yet, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't even, like the next time I go outside and like I'm actually fully outside enjoying the weather, I'm gonna be 20. Like it was a thing. But anyway, grateful to be aging. Yeah, I feel good. I feel good about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really resonate with the 19 to 20 thing because for some reason, when I was like 19, I was like, teenagers control the culture. Like, I'm gonna get pushed out of the zeitgeist. People are gonna bully me for being a TikToker and being 20. And I'm like, actually, respectfully, you didn't know shit. Like, I feel so much like more equipped, smarter, better content as like a 23-year-old who also still slays and is still like a part of the culture. But it was scary to feel like I'm gonna be like an adult for real, which I was not at 20. But you couldn't tell 19-year-old me.
No, you cannot tell. No, you can't at all. And you're gonna feel, when I tell you in your late 20s, like towards 30, you're gonna look back and be like, I was a baby.
I know.
Like I really didn't know. Like I feel so, and that's why also I'm excited. I think, or fine with the age change, is because as I age, I'm just more and more sure of myself and comfortable. In myself and my skin, so
I love that.
Yeah,
I'm feeling that.
Yeah, good.
That
makes me so happy.
That's the energy I get from you. Is just so like you're just trying to like understand yourself, you know.
That's cool. I'm glad I give that.
It's so admirable.
I think that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what I want to be. You know what I'm saying?
No,
I'm working on it.
We are with ourselves for life.
It's true.
Like, you know, like as difficult as it is, people come and go, but like that, like.
Every day.
Just us.
Every day.
So it's important to really understand yourself, love yourself. And
yes.
Yeah, figure that out.
Like, I feel like that was another thing my breakup taught me was that I think I did CBT therapy earlier last year.
Ooh, how was that?
It was interesting and informative. Like, the thing I took most about it was like core beliefs. Okay. Which is this concept essentially that there's this one kind of understanding belief you have about yourself. Yeah. And that kind of inflicts everything else. It's just constantly being influenced by it, and it's kind of the process where you're like, oh, I feel embarrassed that I like showed up to the party in yellow and everyone else was wearing black. And it's like, okay, like why do you think that? And it's like, oh, because like people think I'm weird. And then what would it mean if that were true? Like, oh, it would mean like nobody wants to hang out with me. And what would it mean if that were true? It would mean like I'll be alone forever. And like what would it mean if that were true? Like I'm a horrible person or something. You know, like you dig deep down within yourself and you find that thing that makes you insecure, that makes you like lash out, that makes you just like, you know, hate yourself, I guess. And that's why I think like self-reflection, addressing like who you are, why you act the way you act, really is like it's an accountability strategy, and it also is like a healing strategy, and it also is a form of self-love and like
definitely
leading to liking yourself. And I feel like I just started to like myself like this year, you know.
Amazing. It feels so good, right?
It does feel good.
Yeah.
Yo, y'all should try this shit. It's crazy.
Yeah, you should really try this out.
It's insane. And I feel like you as like, you know, I want to talk about your work and like activism and your music. Like I also feel like when you like yourself, like clearly you are able to like touch so many things and you're writing, you know what I mean? Like how do you feel about how your relationship with yourself influences your art and your work?
I mean, greatly. It influences it so greatly. I feel like when I was out of touch with who I was and was trying to just like meld to what I thought I should be, and just like afraid to dig deep, I think that the art was like not very informed, and it was kind of just mimicking what was already out there, right? I feel like the most transformative and touching art comes from when you are presenting your authentic self, and it's something that like folks really haven't seen before. And I think that's why too the example of like music is kind of coming to me, like in like the music industry, when people and like managers or management like, you know, use a formula and try to be like, oh well, they did this and this and this, like let's do that. Like you can't, there's no formula for authenticity. Like and it's like, yeah, that might get you like to a certain point, but like it's not gonna resonate. Certain things like hit and resonate differently because somebody is so authentic, and like that is like once in a, I can't snap, sorry. I don't even know I just got it. You got a little bit. But like it's, yeah, like you can't recreate that. And I've definitely seen a shift in my art and even like the art that I'm participating in, because I love writing. Writing has been something I've loved since I was a child, and that's something, you know, I've written op-eds. I'm in the process of like writing larger pieces and like things, but I also shifted and got back into music again. And music I started when I was young too. I was like 8 years old when I picked up my first instrument, but I never felt like I really found my, like the right medium or instrument. And, you know, like after this breakup, I was like, let me sit down with myself. And for a while I was entertaining and flirting with DJing, and luckily had a friend named Nando. Shout out to Nando. Love you long time. But he like, I told him the other day, we were out and I was like, I was giving like one of those things where I was like, you like changed my life, like for real. And he's like, let's hug. But he really changed my life, and he DJs and offered to like teach me, and I learned a little bit from him, and then I just like sat and I kind of like became really just obsessive about it, but in like a healthy, good way.
No, I remember.
Yeah.
When I came to your place.
Yes.
Like,
So Nia came over with Anu, and I was like, hi. And like fully was like in my zone. Like I was practicing for an open deck, and also just practicing. I am releasing a mix soon, and so that was like the start of me forming that. So I was just really locked in, and have been like, I've like friends will text me and they'll be like, we haven't seen you in like 4 days, like are you good? And I'm like, I'm so good, like I'm just in my zone. One of my other friends, Bae, says it's deep focus. So deep focus. But yeah, I feel like it even like helped me to like pivot the type of art that I was engaging with. I think for so long being in white spaces, being in spaces where I didn't really feel cared for always by like the teachers, I started to turn away from music, and I didn't feel confident. And I like, even going to college, I studied music management, but I didn't study like do performance because I didn't feel confident enough to do that. And yeah, it feels really good to be creating. And I was just telling a friend the other day, like I feel so grateful to be able to live a life where I'm like creating things that I like, and I'll like do my mix, do a recording, put it in my ears, go on a walk, and like take notes, and like get to do like, just make notes and then do it again later. Like it just feels so fulfilling. And yeah, if I wasn't able to like kind of dig and get in touch with myself last year because of that breakup, and I like to not say, my voice almost cracked and I tried to talk through it. I tried to not say like failed relationship, because I feel like, you know, not everything is supposed to last forever.
Yeah, it's not a failure.
It's painful, but like not everything's supposed to last forever.
No.
And yeah, I'm so grateful for that allowing me to pivot. And I feel like this is my most authentic voice I've tapped into yet. And I'm really excited to share that.
That's amazing. I feel really paralleled, and I have so much admiration for that, because I feel like that's kind of like what you told me to do at Italy, you know? Like, you were like, stop this, enough, and like, worry about you. Go take care of you. And now I have this podcast, and now you're on it, and now you're making a mix.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm
like,
so proud of us. I'm
look
so proud
at
of
us.
you, really,
you know,
for real.
Thank you. Like, we stood up.
When you're going through difficult times, or, you know, like times where people are misunderstanding you, the best thing to do is like focus on your purpose. And that really helped me to like
my name means purpose in Swahili.
Does it?
It does. Well, thank you so much for being here, Kara.
You're so welcome.
You are so spectacular. I'm obsessed with you.
Thank you. And like, thank you. And Wampanoag is Katapatash. So Katapatash for having me. I really appreciate it.
Where can the people find you?
You can find me on TikTok and Instagram and SoundCloud at Kara Roselle S. KaraRoselles.
And everything will be linked below. I am at Bitnia. You can find me on everything at Bitnia. And thank you guys so much for watching. Have a very gay day. I just came up with that one.
That was good.
Thank you.